Trust me, the reason why you even clicked on this video is because you've been having feelings of like, you feel like there's a shift in your relationship with somebody else, whether it's a romantic type of connection, whether it's a platonic connection, whether this person is your family member. You can just tell that there's a difference in the way that this other one is cheating, the other one in the way that you are responding to that. And let me tell you, and let me just give you the validation that you need right now. It is not in your head, because I feel like a lot of the time, because of our thoughts and because sometimes we try to rationalize things that, or rationalize behaviors that is absolutely bad behavior, and it's abnormal, and it's just like, it's not good. We try to rationalize this type of behavior because we're trying to normalize and we're trying to give somebody else the benefit of the doubt. But as Simply Shayo says, why should someone ever benefit from your doubt? If you've been having doubts about this person, trust me, as long as you have reason enough to stay out of this relationship and cut this person off, you're completely validated. Because I feel like a lot of the time we are our own biggest enemies, and we ourselves are putting ourselves in and trying to keep ourselves in relationships where it's clearly no longer serving us, but we're with this person either for feelings of comfort, familiarity, because we love them, because of the time we've spent together. Like, there's so many reasons as to why people want to stay in relationships with other people. But in this video, I am going to reassure you and give you the validation that you need, that this relationship and this person is no longer serving you, and that they should be out of your life. Because what are you going to do with someone who's no longer serving you? Like, what use are they to you? Hello you guys, and welcome back to my channel. Before we get into the video, make sure to follow all of my socials and make sure to comment down below if you guys have any suggestions. Without further ado, let's get straight into the video. The first instance that could occur when you see that this relationship with this person is no longer serving you, I feel like, is when they are not putting in any effort into the relationship. Now trust me, especially at the beginning stages of a relationship, as I said, whether it's platonic or romantic or whatever the case is, a person is going to put in effort into this relationship because they are willing to do what it takes in order to maintain the relationship. For me, for example, if I see that someone is withdrawing themselves and I can see them, pushing backwards and everything, and I can see that they're not putting as much effort into the relationship, is my first thought going to be to cut them off? No. First, I'm going to assess this behavior and see if it's really something that's just in my head. I'm just overthinking, because they could be going through something in their lives that you have no knowledge about, and it's just a thing of like you wanting to ask this person, what's going on, just having that communication with that person, right? And the thing is, it is through a conversation where a lot of things can be fixed. And I feel like once you've had a conversation with someone, a lot of things should change, especially if you've expressed your concerns, and express how you felt and your feelings and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of things would be fixed because both individuals would want to show up in a way that would benefit and that would help the both of them, because I feel like that's the purpose of the relationship within itself. I feel like if both individuals are not putting in the necessary effort and communicating effectively, then what's the use of even having this relationship? Because all it's going to be is toxic, because we're both not showing up for each other, and it's just going to be of no use. I feel like when you've had a conversation with someone, right, through communication, it should change. And once you see that this person, even after you've had a conversation with them, multiple conversations, and you've really tried and you're putting in the effort, and you can see that they're not putting any effort, that's when the relationship no longer serves you, because this person doesn't care and love you enough and respect you enough to show up for you in the way that you need. So what's best for you to do is just literally just let them go, because genuinely, for your own peace of mind and your own sanity, why should you keep that type of energy around you? Like, really and truly, it does not make any sense. The second sign, which is just an indicator that someone is no longer serving you, is if they do not care about you. This closely links into the first point, but it's not really the same. I feel like this one can apply a lot to one-sided relationships, and oh my gosh, hand on heart, one-sided relationships are absolutely the worst. It's even more painful, especially like when you see it in platonic relationships, it's absolutely the worst thing, because you put this person at such a high regard just to find out that they don't put you at maybe like the same, like they don't hold you on the same pedestal or whatever the case is, and they don't actually care about you the way that you care about them. It's probably one of the most devastating things or to come to terms with, because it's like that never crossed your mind. So the fact that now you're realizing how little you mean to that person. And the thing is, obviously a lot of people can say, oh, but it's one thing of them to say they don't really put you in a higher regard than you would like them, or on a pedestal that you put them on. Okay, whatever, people may have their own opinions about that, but then at the same time, that translates into the relationship, that translates in their actions and the way that they show up for you, because the way that you would ride for them is not the way that they would ride for you. And I feel like it's not up until someone actually sees it in that type of instance, where they realize that, hey, you don't really actually care about me the way that I care about you. And you will see it through that person's actions, because it will start from just being something small, but it will always translate and morph into something that is just much bigger than you could have ever imagined. So crazy, because I feel like also caring about someone is such a vital part of just maintaining a healthy relationship. A person who cares about you is going to check in on you and ask how you're feeling. I hate the fact that we have normalized people who are nonchalant and people who are like chilled, disconnected from everything in the world within itself. And I just feel like it's so dangerous for people to have an acceptance to those type of people, because it's like, you're going to expose yourself to this person, right? They're this nonchalant person who's probably disconnected from people and other people's feelings, and in their minds they may think that they have empathy for others, but it clearly does not translate within their actions. It's funny to me how people think that, you know, attaching themselves to these nonchalant people who are so disconnected and so detached, that they think that they're going to be able to show up for them in these relationships. They're not going to be able to, because that disconnection and that detachment, I feel like, because they feel a certain way, because they are so detached, because they are so disconnected, because they are all about, I don't care and this doesn't faze me, it's not that deep, because they have this mentality, they will have this part of themselves where they will have an assumption that everybody else will feel that way. Everybody else will have that mindset of like, it's not that deep, I don't really care, it doesn't really matter. They will automatically think, because they have like me syndrome, a lot of characteristics of someone who's just selfish. And I also want to remind people of like what selfish truly, like being selfish, what it truly means. It literally means you're disregarding other people's wants and needs, and you're putting yours first. And I feel like a lot of people, you know, have glamorized it and made their personality. Now, am I saying that you should never have selfish moments? I am not saying that, because there are moments in life where you have to be selfish. But I think that identifying as that person and glamorizing the term is a completely different thing, because it's just not the same to me, if that makes sense. Going back to my point about caring, you cannot be with someone who doesn't care about you. You cannot be with someone who doesn't want to take your feelings into consideration. That's a massive part as well. And I just feel like that's an important thing that a lot of people forget. You also have to remember, with these selfish people who care about nothing other than themselves, right? You also have to remember that all they care about is them, right? Whether or not you feel affected, it's never going to be a question of like, how do you feel about this? It's always going to be like, because I feel okay with this, then I expect you, I'm under the assumption that you're also going to be okay with that. And I feel like those are the wrong type of people to kind of be associated with, if you know that you're a person that also cares deeply. Third one is one that I come to terms with in a conversation that I had, and it's so funny because God works in mysterious ways, because I had been going through a situation and I vented to God about it, but I think it was the very next day that I literally had a conversation with my friend, and it was with regards to her other friend and everything. And how this person always verbalizes being this kind person, being this person that, you know, she loves her, but in some ways her actions are not reflective of a kind person. They're not reflective of this person that actually loves her. This person who preaches a lot, right? And I feel like everything that they verbalize is not really translated in their actions. And they'll preach about being this good person, they'll preach about being this empathetic person, they'll preach about loving you and holding you at such a high regard, as I was saying on the previous point, but it's not really reflective in their actions. I think this is something that I struggled with majority of my life, and I think that I let myself believe that just because someone verbalized that they love me, that they care about me, that was good enough, and that hearing those things would just be enough to obviously maintain the relationship within itself. But that can never be the case when it's not reflected through a person's actions. It's always nice to hear things. It's like, oh, I didn't know you actually thought of me this way. Oh, I actually didn't know that I mean X, Y, and Z to you, but it's not translated or reflected. It's not reflected in your actions. I feel like it's never enough, maybe because you were a person, or you were raised, or you, I don't know, bring yourself up to be this person who maybe does truly inherently feel all of these things. Maybe it's also wrong for me to disregard the way that they may feel about, but I also feel like actions do speak louder than words. And I feel like sometimes those words can be used to sort of like manipulate you into staying small and to what they say, even though that you can see that throughout the relationship and what the relationship actually is when you actually assess the relationship for what it is, from an objective perspective, rather than just putting your emotions into it and letting your emotions blind you. And I just feel like you can see a lot of manipulative things and stuff. It's like coming out of a romantic relationship, and now you've taken your rose-colored glasses off, and now you can actually see the situation for what it is, rather than being blinded by your emotions, because your emotions blind your perspective. Number 4, I think this one is fairly a simple one, but I think I'm going to attach a reason to it that is not so typical and not so cliche. I think that obviously with, you know, recognizing that somebody is no longer meant for you, you see that you've also outgrown this person. But one thing about outgrowing, one thing I can really say about that is like it never just occurs just with your friendships and stuff like that. And I think it's centered a lot around that, because I feel like it's people that you've met just now, and it's like it's fair enough that you've outgrown those people. You know, they're meant to be there for a lesson and stuff like that. But I feel like it also is something that is reflected, and it's something that can also be applied through people that you've known throughout your whole life. And I feel like that thing of just being taught from the day you were born that you're meant to naturally love this person, and you're meant to have that innate love, if that makes sense, that innate love for that person, just because you've been best friends with this person for an X amount of time, you've been with this person for an X amount of time, more than probably like your whole life, whatever the case is. Sometimes it's hard to outgrow this type of people, because people have seen you so many times together. It's almost hard to let them go, not because of like the relationship or within itself that you have to let that go. It's probably not even that hard for you to let go of such a thing in that instant, or depending on the situation. But it's probably harder for you to come to terms with, or for you to actually see the way people are going to perceive you now without that person, because you've been with that person for an X amount of time, right? And then it becomes an odd sight to everybody else to see you finally on your own and finally being your own person. And that's also just another thing. I just feel like never overlook the fact that you cannot grow even the closest people in your life, whether or not it is a platonic situation or a romantic situation. And if you guys want to know how you've outgrown someone, you guys can watch my other video. I'll link it down in the description below. it is a fantastic video, and it's really and truly going to help you. I'm literally putting myself on, unplugging myself on, but really and truly that video is going to help you to see that if you've outgrown this person and how it's normal to outgrow people, no matter who it is. The fifth reason, trigger warning, right? I think when you realize that someone is no longer serving you, no longer serving your purpose, no longer serving you anything in your life, is through emotional abuse, which I feel like is the hardest abuse to actually detect, because I mean, there's physical abuse, there's verbal abuse and stuff. Like physical, it's easy, you can spot it on someone's body. Verbal abuse, I think anybody in their right mind in the public would be able to be like, what that person just said is downright wrong, and whatever the case is. But I think with emotional abuse, it's something that can happen and you don't even realize that it actually happened, whether it could be through a span of a few months, whether it could be in a year, 2 years, your entire life. You don't really detect it, and that is because that behavior, you'll see that part of themselves, that version of themselves that is being emotionally abusive in this current moment as a part of their personality. And I feel like it's very hard to separate the two, and I feel like it could be even harder, especially if your emotions are there and they're involved and they're blinding the whole situation and stuff like that. So you can't even really read between the lines. Find yourself gaslighting yourself just because of someone's response to your reaction. Someone could say something, it could be anything. Someone could say something, it makes you feel some type of way, and then they gaslight you into thinking that, first of all, your reaction is not valid and you're crazy for even acting what you're saying, or they do what, you know, gaslighting is, and then they deny, and then they make you seem like you're the crazy person for your reaction and for the truth that is coming out of your mouth. But because they want to downplay their actions, they're going to accuse you of being reactive. To be gaslighted, that's another form of emotional abuse, that's another form of manipulation. And I feel like sometimes we downplay these certain things just because we love this person and that's the person that they are, but it's wrong. It's so wrong on so many levels, because the emotional abuse that person would put you through won't even hit you up until after you've left the whole relationship. Oh, it actually hits you while you're in the relationship, but because of the love that you have for them, you want to stay and you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But again, no one should benefit from your doubt. No one should ever underestimate the power of emotional abuse because the emotional toll, it's beyond you, and it's not okay for another person to make you feel that way. There's a word for this, right? And it's kind of irritating me that I'm not getting it, but it's when someone manipulates you and tricks you into doing something, and then if you don't want to do it, then they're gonna show you that they're clearly not happy that you didn't do it. It's sort of like guilt tripping, but I feel like there's another word, but it's guilt tripping essentially. I'm just gonna use that for now. The guilt tripping, it's weird if the relationship is kind of based on their terms, where if they do not get something that they want, if it's like they don't get their way, it's like they're very like quick to withdraw, they're very quick to avoid, they're very quick to not communicate, they're very quick with just distancing themselves. And it's just like weird because it's a pattern in which it's something that becomes a pattern, and it's something that you have to realize, where, oh wait, if I don't do this and you do this, if I don't do this and you do, it's just a weird thing. And you have to watch out for people like that, because those people are just not only just weirdos, but they're very scary, because it's like they're just users. They're only there in the relationship just for their own benefit. They don't really care about you or whatever you have to bring into the relationship and your concerns and everything. All they care about is them and if they feel good in your relationship. Could be a thing of like, I could seem very dramatic, but as I said, such small things can literally escalate. And you find yourself now in it won't even just be emotional abuse, it could turn into verbal and physical abuse. And when it's like a type of thing of like, now you realize once you're out of that situation, it could take years, you know, once you're out of that situation and you actually see where did this all begin, and it will all probably start with emotional abuse or verbal abuse, in my opinion, because I feel like that's where it all begins. But it's just the justification of like, because let's say for example, for the verbal abuse, the other person who is the victim on the other end will say, oh,
it's just because they did it out of anger. They didn't mean it. That's the type of things that they say when they're angry.
no. The verbal abuse is giving who they truly are. It's giving the things that they've been wanting to say. It's showing you their character, but you're just downplaying it because you want to have this certain image, this good image of this person, because you want to keep them in your life. Because you know you can't keep someone and you can't be attached to someone who is not perceived as good, especially in other people's eyes. They have to have the best image for other people to also root for them and to be by their side and all of that stuff. So that's also another thing. And then the emotional abuse, it's like things like manipulating, gaslighting, lying, and all of these things. It can all just start from just something so small and it can morph into something even greater. So it's always good to just look at both ends and take note of like the smaller things. And I feel like if you have a problem with that, voice it within the relationship, and if you see no change, then get out, because it's clearly not serving you. Because I feel like that downplaying and that letting it slide, it's gonna lead to a build-up. It's gonna lead to a build-up to the point where now you can't even physically remove yourself out of the situation, because you've basically put yourself in the situation and there's no way you can get out of it now because you're far in too deep. You get me? Understand me? It's never a thing of like you're overthinking. Sometimes you're genuinely like actually thinking of the situation for what it is, and this is a video to sort of validate your feelings and where you're at right now. And if that's the way that you feel, that's the way that you feel. You shouldn't compromise keeping these toxic people who are no longer serving you just for the sake of having them in your lives. No matter how close they are to you, no matter how long they've been in your life. Guys, I come to the end of this video. I hope you guys liked it and enjoyed it. Comment down below, what was your favorite thing that I said? Do you guys have any comments to share your own experiences? I don't know. Comment down below. I would really love to hear. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.